welcome with this wonderful sounds from Mitch and Friend. Come and take my hand. I have come to take you home. And thank you for taking that as a personal invitation. And so, in that personal invitation, to become aware and be aware that this is really all that is going on and all that that's the best invitation that we can get, that Christ is coming to take us home. We are teaching here Course in Miracles for those who are not familiar with this teaching of Christ mind. And teaching A Course in Miracles means teaching our own experience, teaching our own change of mind, teaching our perspectives, how they changed from perspectives in separation, illusionary, giving meaning to everything that really has no meaning, and finding out that nothing that we see in this world and around us and in us has any meaning. Once it is just temporary, impermanent, coming and going, and realized that there isn't really anything in the dream that we possibly could rely on and relate in a true sense to come to an experience of true love, of love without opposite, of love without changes, of love that is an expression of freedom within soul and mind. And that is really the invitation that I'm extending to you as myself. And of course, I'm just here for an instant to make a demonstration for myself what I no longer believe in and what a new trust in through knowing the truth is revealed in my mind and is constantly revealed moment by moment. And that constant revelation is because a communication is established or has restored, and that communication is with Christ within, is with the light within our mind, is with creative thought, is literally with the source of my being. And that restoration of sanity, of mind coming from fear, and of course, everything was looked for in a sense of defense, and being defensive means to be afraid, and to be afraid means to be afraid of the ultimate, of the all integrated, and that is really what love is. Love is, even in the experience of human love, a version of what God's love is for his own creation, for the Son of God, for me, for you, for all of us, for all of creation. And so we are learning to let our own interpretation and our own littleness, our limited meanings that we have given to each other, to the situation, to the idea of love itself, we are allowing that to be changed, to be corrected. And that correction is called in the Course in Miracles an undoing process. So you are here for being active in the undoing process of all the meanings that you have given to everyone, to everything, and of course also including yourself. But we are directed in that second part of A Course in Miracles that is a practical instruction given on a daily basis for the time period of 1 year, and is called the mind training of A Course in Miracles, by utilizing, by practicing with a lesson of the day. And today, in the 41st week, on the 282nd day, we are given the idea, a title of the lesson is, I will not be afraid of love today. And so Jesus Christ, as Christ within myself, directs me once again to this undoing process of the unreasonability of fear, of the necessity to be undone, to be corrected with fear against love, right? And so it is a very important affirmation for ourselves when we tell ourselves, maybe not for any other time, maybe just for today, I will give everything and will be willing to not be afraid of love. And coming from yesterday's perspective that I can be hurt by nothing but my own thoughts, that means I am responsible what I choose. And if I choose a limited thought form, it will be painful, it will hurt, it will give me an experience of separation, it will present that fear is coming up in the consciousness and shows up to demonstrate its seeming apparent power. But power that is of the ego is really no power, is really just a demonstration of no substance, no source, and therefore completely illusionary. So once we accept that we have held illusions real throughout all time, but now are willing to accept reality as it is, and that means to accept ourselves as we are, as God created us, is of course a goodbye to those thought forms that have hurt us, that have attacked us, that have kept us in guilt, that have put us into the sense of being victims of the world or victims to others, as it seems like they have afflicted or done something to me, to us, and therefore I would be justified in the judgment and condemnation of this other. And what we have to learn is that condemnation and crucifixion, literally in one's own mind, is never justified. The only thing that is justified is what is real and what is forever real, what communicates singularly with every mind and all over at all times. So we are arriving once again at love itself. And so love becomes this energy or this demonstration of God extending himself and showing himself as what he really is and what he created. So if you are created perfect, whole, and healed, then you must be what love is. And of course, you will run into lessons that love created me like itself, or I'm surrounded by the love of God, as lesson 264 was teaching us. And it will bring about an acceptance of true identity and a clarity of recognition of self, who you are. And that will be continued in tomorrow's lesson, that which we are taught that our true identity abides in us. So just thinking for a moment before we go into the 3 days awakening idea again and bring that together, how Jesus offers it in that mind training sequence of the lesson of the day. I will not be afraid of love today. Here is something pointed out in certain qualities of the mind. He's speaking about a decision. He's speaking about our determination to be successful in our transformation. And he makes it very clear that to recognize the self, the true self, is a choice. As we were just coming, as I said, from the previous lesson 281, in which we realized, oh my God, I have actually held real thought forms, limited thought forms that ended up attacking me and hurting me. And so today, if I could realize, but this today, that just for this instant, just for this day, I will not be afraid of love, salvation would be reached for all the world. That is not just a lofty promise that Jesus gives in that lesson. I would say that is a declaration, right? That is a declaration. It is guaranteed. It is guaranteed that uh, salvation would be reached for all the world. But you know, once we undergo that undoing process for ourselves, we also get to know that everything is in our own mind. Whatever we see as a word or in the word, or how salvation for all the world would happen and where it would happen, we realize it is happening in our mind and only in our mind. It cannot happen anywhere else simply because there is nothing outside our mind. Outside your mind is nothing. So don't be concerned about nothing, but be concerned of what you have given meaning, you have related, that you have endowed literally with light energy, so that this can open up into a full recognition of the true self, of who you truly are. And that is really salvation, or the action of salvation for all the world. That we see that how it came about and fell in place to see a world, or that the world was believed to be real, was through our way of thinking, was through a way of thinking illusionary, which means limited, which means endowed and projected meanings on, and then see something that isn't even there. And so coming to know that you are the cause of the world that you see, it becomes, of course, very, very reasonable also to admit to be the savior of the world. And so that your action of mind of accepting love and only love, and so undergo the transformation of the fear of love, will, of course, automatically save all the world, because you are free in that. If you love, you are also, as God created you, you are free. And this, he says, is the decision not to be insane. But of course, indirectly, he says, and everything else is a representation of insanity. And to accept myself as God Himself, as God created me, as God Himself, my Father and my Source, created me. This, the determination not to be asleep in dreams of death. See, what an expression, makes it very clear right straight away that this is a dream of death. And we are here to demonstrate just for ourselves this determination to be determined, to see things differently, to see through the vision of Christ, through true seeing, to be dedicated to that awakening from the dream. So that the determination is, I have enough of sleeping in my dream images, and everything is in a category, and everything is as it seems to be, and as I've been told or educated with the meanings that they have, and not even realizing that those meaning has been given by our mind. So we are determined not to be asleep in dreams of death, because that is all the world you see. This is all about dreams of death, while truth remains forever living in the joy of love, in the joy of love. And this the choice to recognize the self, that self who we truly are, that self that is aware of itself, that recognizes oneself as God created us. Recognize the self whom God created as the Son He loves and who remains my own identity. Here's already the indication that this is the one and only identity that we really have. It is to be the perfection and the wholeness of what God's Son is, of God's creation. And in the prayer part, it states, Father, your name is love, and so is mine. Such is the truth. And can the truth be changed by merely giving it another name? The name of fear is simply a mistake. Let me not be afraid of truth today. And we see it many, many times, especially in relationships that show us very plainly how the mind rather chooses the fear of love instead of being in a state of clarification of certainty. And so you wanna be very clear about what a relationship is serving you, what purpose it has, what path you're sharing as a purpose given from out of time with your beloved ones, with whom you share that relationship. If you do not really work on the development of a true purpose in that sense, you are automatically falling into those specialized thought forms as we have lived relationships over thousands of years. And that was really nothing else than just sharing a dream of death and proceeding seemingly together towards death. No, we are literally rising from the death and declare ourselves that we only share what is no longer ending in death, but shows us day by day, moment by moment, what life truly is. And in order to realize life, we cannot stay in fear and call that still love. So the fear of love is not another form of love, but this is where most of the relationships are kept and justified. This is where we had built up a defense strategy. It became a construct of defending the self concept, the limited self concept, the self that we have imagined and hallucinated ourselves to be, but could never and will never be true. And so I ask you here, as myself, to no longer accept those concepts for yourself that bind you literally in limitations of your own thought forms, and you call it your relationship. In the Course in Mirrors, Jesus makes a clear distinction between what he calls the special relationship and the holy relationship. And the holy relationship is that relationship in which the awareness of Christ has entered, in which a purpose to be shared that serves for the awakening from the dream is clearly shared, and being aware of that and being dedicated to live and share this purpose. So those are the perspectives that make clear differences to this dedication to death and justification that, well, this is okay because everybody lives it that way. No, not everybody lives it that way. The Savior of the world is stepping out of this old frame and demonstrates that there is no fear justified in connection with love. Love is effect, love is the truth, love is who we are. Therefore, we cannot not but love and share love. But love needs to be, in that sense, so refined that all this emotional clutter around and all this imagery that cause and effect is separate, when this then that, and when not this then not, or then this, that this is being undone and falls away. So there is just pure love. There's just love there. What is love other than happiness within? What is love other than to be at peace within oneself in one's own mind? What is love other than the power of stillness, and also the power of that commitment to the truth and with the truth, and walking with Him, walking with Christ, accepting that the master, the teacher, master means teacher, is right smack in your dream and guides you and instructs you, teaches you, shows you the clear difference between the falsity and the truth, or the wrong-minded thinking as expressed in the Course in Miracles, and right-mindedness. So this is really what we can learn. This is really what we can practice. This is what we can apply in our relationships, and so in every situation. This is what is called miracle-mindedness. This is experiencing the miracle as the corrective principles to our own way of thinking, to our own concepts. This is the message of A Course in Miracles given by Jesus Christ to the world. Again, who is the Word? I am. You are this Word. He has given that to you. Who is really the scribe of this message from out of time? It is you in your restored mind, in your mind aligned with the holiness of God's mind, the Holy Spirit. So Jesus Christ, as the author of this Course in Miracles, isn't separate from yourself. This is still your own whole and true mind. So you see, this is good news, isn't it? Don't you think that this is really just great, great news? Absolutely, absolutely. And so now just making that transition and that step into what we shared, this new book or out of this new book, 3 Days to Awakening, and being in using the expression in this course within day 1, which is the subtitle of this book. You can get that on Amazon. Looking for a way out of here. And we were in this perspective of this awakening from the dream. And we were in the last time, as we left it, and we looked at chapter 3, section 7, and we saw that everything occurs always only to ourself, to myself. And so to see something, to observe something, to be in observation, which is actually a state of separation, is still really just to interact and perceive myself, yourself. And once we step beyond, or we let that be corrected in its meaning, we arrive at our true self. And so that true self is really no longer interacting, but is. It's this beingness as the one self with all of itself, with all what is within my own mind, within your own mind. So in all those created forms, seemingly, or as they have been given reality, separate from your own true identity, right? Your own one soul, as we called it, yeah. You realize that you, as that one self, you have never really created, made up, produced, yeah, fabricated these forms. It was really just a thinking of, okay, this is what I made. I made up this world, but in truth, I didn't make up anything, because it's not even possible to make something up without falling back into true source. And so we were then looking at this sense of separation that came out of that idea. Yes, this is real. I did make it all up, and this is a very real world as it is perceived and exchanged. No? And so we have given it meaning from a viewpoint of limitation. Yeah? And of course, this was the start or the continuation, the maintenance of identifying with little thoughts, with meaningless thoughts, with thought forms that do not really communicate, that do not really do anything. But the moment we became fearful of true power, out of true reality, God's grace, God's light, let's say, God's love, that was this I am before the separation, right? That is really what we can define now as the as separation itself, or what separation means. Yeah. Now we are claiming back this power, and we are claiming it back after reliving, as expressed in the course, the moment of terror, and remembering once again what we are in our entirety. Yeah. That which we truly are, and therefore everything truly is as isness in the true sense. So this is what we call the act of forgiveness. This is what we call experience as love for ourself and to all of ourselves. That love to all of ourselves. But by defending yourself from the truth, but protecting your little word, right, your little meaningless thoughts, and repeating this over and over again, then of course the dream content will have to show up and cause conflict. So that finally the consciousness becomes aware, okay, here is a lesson to learn. This is an opportunity. This is a teaching in which I can see that I was mistaken, and I can make a new choice, right? I'm willing to learn the lesson. Remember that movie, The Groundhog Day? He's gonna be stuck in that one day because he's first not willing, he's completely resistant to learn the lesson. So it just repeats itself. The misery, the attack thoughts, the up to suicide, all the death ideas in a constant repetition, the grievances coming up. So, and that is the reason why you started to believe in a sequential continuation of your dream of birth and death, waking up and falling asleep, that seemed to have no end. Yeah. But here it is. It all just depended on that decision, as we were just sharing out of lesson 282. The moment you made the decision, the moment I made the decision to not want this repetitive dream anymore, this word basically in the hamster wheel, always the same attack, always the same death episodes, death destructive reflections. This was the decision, not to want it anymore. In that same moment, freedom was given us. I was free. You were freed. And claro, of course, seemingly we are reliving this time of terror which apparently took the place of love. Seemingly, apparently. I'm reliving this single experience of where the self was realized in its destruction, in its devastation. And simultaneously, of course, the penetration of the light, so the release of the limitation, the release of the falsity, the release of the meaning of ourselves and the world. And so in that we realize the instantaneous correction. It's an instantaneous correction. This is really what the miracle provides for us and does for us. And we experience perfect peace, perfect love, joy, joy that occurs in that speed up of, this is what we call conversion, right? Transformation, the speed up of the conversion of all form association into something way bigger, way greater, the light and love of God. Today, right here, right now, this very moment. And all we do here right now is remembering. We are remembering in this moment nothing else, nothing other than our awakening from this dream of limitations, from this dream that was just filled up, a container filled up with limited thought forms, with meanings given to it, which were in truth completely meaningless. And this is arriving at knowledge. Knowledge is knowing thyself, knowing myself. Knowledge comes from God. And there's only this moment, and always has been only this moment. And this comes from our recognition. Brother, time is over. Time is over. Everything is over and gone that we see as part of this dream. And so he has added in this book the section in chapter 26, in the section 5, and it is the 12th and 13th paragraph. And if you're a course teacher, you will know this passage very, very well. Here it is. Each day and every minute in each day, and every instant that each minute holds, you but relive the single instant when the time of terror took the place of love. And so you die each day to live again until you cross the gap between the past and present, which is not a gap at all. Such is each life. A seeming interval from birth to death and on to life again, a repetition of an instant gone by long ago, which cannot be relived. That is the little life, right? The imagination of a human life. And all of time is but the mad belief that what is over is still here and now. This is what we teach ourselves. And that belief system can be corrected. So forgive the past and let it go, for it is gone. What an instruction, isn't it? Forgive the past and let it go, for it is gone. You stand no longer on the ground that lies between the worlds. You have gone on and reached the world that lies at heaven's gate. There is no hindrance to the will of God, nor any need that you repeat again a journey that was over long ago. A journey that was over long ago. So look gently on each other and behold the world in which perception of your hate has been transformed into a world of love, in which perception of your hate, of your grievances, the perception of fear has been transformed into a world of love. This is awesome. I'm gonna leave it here with this and just send you blessings, goodwill, love, and extend my mind in communication with Christ's mind. And we just join as that one being, that one self that is created perfect by the thought of God, by God's grace, and become aware of who we are. And this is just a big laughter, a big hallelujah, amen. This is just pure love. This is self-recognition. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. Thank you for your willingness to go to any lengths, not stop within your process of that conversion, that transformation of limited thought forms to that clarity and that brilliance of love. Thank you.
Come dry your eyes and sit with me for a while. Love will open every door that seems would not within. For I have come to take